Okay, so now let's actually look at some actual models. So what I do here is CTFAR, circumstance, thought, feeling, action, result, from the self-coaching model. So this particular example, the circumstance is my life. The thought, I'm overwhelmed with too many things to do. When I think that thought, it creates a feeling of stress, anxiety. When I feel stress and anxiety, what do? How do I behave? I waste time on Facebook. And when I waste time on Facebook, what's my result? Nothing gets done. I know that lots of us can connect to that one. It's a great example. Here's another one. Circumstance is owner chooses to euthanize a 4-year-old dog. My thought about that. People shouldn't have pets if they can't afford to take care of them. How do I feel when I think that thought? Angry. What is my actions? I internalize it. My result is I become depressed. This circumstance, owner says, you just care about the money. My thought, I wish the procedure didn't cost $800. My feeling is guilt. My action is I shut down. And my result, I'm no fun to be around at work, at home, wherever. And one other example here. I euthanized 8 healthy cats today. My thought about it, I wish I didn't have to do that. My feeling when I think that thought is sad. What do I do when I'm sad? I'm distant, not engaged. I wall off from people. And the result is there's tension in my relationship with my significant other. Right? And I know lots of you can relate to this too. So when we are creating models, what we do is, and what you're going to do in your homework is you'll do a thought download. You'll pull out one thought or even a situation that is causing you lots of angst that you are having some trouble with. And you'll plug it into the model in the appropriate place. The biggest mistake people make is confusing the circumstance with a thought. Oftentimes we want to put thoughts into the circumstance. If there's any judgment at all in your C line, it's not a circumstance. Circumstances are facts that we can prove in a court of law. Saying that someone is a jerk is not a circumstance. It's a thought, right? So that's where we tend to mix this up the most. But so then your thought, and here's the word of advice I want to give you. Keep your models as simple as possible. You'll notice that, I have very few words in here. You don't want to create paragraphs in here. So again, your circumstance, whatever that is, your thought, again, keep it to a sentence. That's key. Your feeling, 1 or 2 feelings, right? When you start listing a whole bunch of feelings, it actually then you really would be needing to create multiple models. Your action, what you do or don't do based on that feeling. And your result, what then creates in your life based on that action. So once we have the ability, so step 1 in your homework is doing the thought download, getting some clarity and getting some distance and seeing what it is that you're actually thinking. Then we understand the model. We know that everything fits in here. So step number 3 is to create a model based on an unintentional or unconscious thought. One, again, from your thought download, right? So then step 4 is, and the one that everyone wants to do, right, is how do I change the way I think so that I can feel better? So let me share that with you, and we'll start actually with this model because it's up. So the circumstance always remains the same. So the circumstance is still, excuse my tape here, the circumstance is still that I euthanized 8 healthy cats today. So the question you can ask yourself, when you want to shift your thought from I wish I didn't have to do this, and this is a thought that created sadness and created, a whole litany of things, feeling distant and tension in your relationship. So clearly that thought is not serving you, right? So what we want to do is to change the thought to something that we believe and that makes us feel better when we think it. Now, when you work with animals, and life and death and all of that is at stake, sometimes we can't make huge leaps from feeling sad to feeling glorious, to feeling celebratory. So this is one of the first models that I wanted to give you and actually show you. We will talk more about this in the course, that neutral is actually a feeling. And what I want to sell you on is the idea that neutral, the feeling of neutral, or the feeling of neutrality, always feels better than some of these other feelings, right? So stick with me on this. So you can ask yourself, about this situation, how can I see it differently? How can I think about it differently? That makes me feel better. So this person, or in this example, changed their thought to, I had to, but I know that they were treated with kindness. And when I think that thought, I feel neutral. I feel accepting. Accepting doesn't mean I like it, but accepting is I'm not resisting or pushing against reality. That will get you nowhere. And when I feel neutral and accepting, I don't beat myself up. And the result is I don't bring it home. And I know that many of you can benefit from not bringing stuff home. So for this example, I just want to remind you again that sometimes in a really difficult situation, you may only be able to get your feeling to a place of neutrality. So what does neutral mean? Neutral doesn't mean indifference. It doesn't mean I don't care at all. Neutral means it is what it is. It is what it is. Okay, let's go back to our previous example here. This was the owner who says you just care about the money. So the thought we want to change is, I wish the procedure didn't cost $800, which was causing us to feel guilty. So this one, I understand. Whoops, there's a D missing here. This thought was changed to, I understand $800 is a lot of money for people and not everyone has access to that. When I think that thought, I feel understanding about people or towards people, right? And I treat them with compassion and I look for options. Maybe, there's some options that can help them. Maybe a payment plan, maybe a care credit, maybe something like that could be helpful. And when I have actions along these lines, the results are that we find an option for them and the pet gets the procedure. So again, just by shifting the thought. Because in this one, the thought made us feel guilty. And here's what I will tell you. You're going to see this over and over and over again. Negative feelings do not create any positive outcomes in us. Like we're not motivated by feeling angry or guilty or resentful. Like that, none of those things are motivating. Beating ourselves up is not motivating. So we want to get our place to a more positive emotion. All right, let's see. Owner chooses to euthanize the 4-year-old dog. Again, the circumstance stays the same. So what's another way we can think about that? The original thought was people shouldn't have animals if they can't afford to take care of them. This person shifted their thought to, I can only do what I can do, which caused her to feel neutral. Again, here's another example of neutral. The action, I euthanize the dog with compassion rather than anger. Right? Or being angry at myself, or being angry at the situation, or being angry at clients. And the result, my patient didn't suffer. And I didn't suffer. We can almost add that to this, whoever the person is. All right. And then we have one more. This was the overwhelmed situation. So the original thought was, I'm overwhelmed with too many things to do. How else can we look at our lot when we do have lots of things to do? I mean, this is, welcome to life in the 21st century. Like we all have tons of things that we can do. But remember, what ends up happening is when we think thoughts that create stress and anxiety, we don't take any actions to get things done. We do just the opposite. We procrastinate and nothing changes. So in this example, let's see. So she changed the thought to, I can prioritize and get the most important things done, which created a feeling of focused determination. The action, I make a list and I prioritize, and the result is I get things done. So now you get to see, again, this is how you change how you think. Is you ask yourself, how can you see the situation differently? What other thoughts are available to you? And here's the visual I want to offer you. Have you ever been to the grocery store? Of course you have. I know you have. So imagine you're standing at the end of the aisle with all of the canned vegetables. And you look down the aisle and all you see are rows and rows and shelves of cans. And all you see is cans and cans and cans and cans. I want you to imagine that all of those cans are available thoughts. So in other words, we start looking at the world and you can choose any thought you want about everything. Any thought you want. Like those are all the offerings, all those cans. You can just pick one off. Yeah, it looks like corn, but really the thought is, I'm doing the best I can. That's great. Can. Get that? That was good. So, sometimes we just have to ask ourselves, why am I choosing to think this thought? And that's a great way to get some clarity sometimes of where you're at with things. So, okay, that's it for this video. And we'll see you in the next one.